I have three daughters, and I just felt like the way the landscape was with youth sports, right? Girls didn't really have their own opportunity to thrive, succeed, and compete in a healthy environment, which would be conducive to their success. So I really want to do this for my older daughter, and she started playing when she was 5, and she was the only girl. And come playoff time, like you know, barely took the field because she wasn't a boy and because it was the playoffs, right? And it's 5 years old, so only the best ones play. So the system is just broken, and it's also just go out and play and then go home, right? There's no substance, there's nothing more they're gaining from that. They're not growing. And it was really lacking. And we wanted to create this identity or this culture where these girls come out and they compete and they come together and we close them out, we warm them up, we do all these things where the sum of the all the parts are really greater than the individual, and that's where kind of girl power was born. So as we all know in youth sports, right, it's about the experience, it's about not wins and losses, developing girls and really having them fall in love with this great game by having the love and the support that they're surrounded with, where they just want to just play and go out and have fun. I can't wait to come back the next week. And see, I define a great coach in youth sports that doesn't matter how many games you win or lose, those girls want to come back and play for that coach the next season, right? So that's a job well done in my eyes.
I love it. I love it. Chris, go ahead. What's
Awesome.
your
Yeah.
background?
Chris
Yeah.
Maleo, excited to be here. One of the, kind of partners here in Girl Power, former high school football, number one ranked team in the country. I was the head coach of a team, also best-selling author, entrepreneur, CEO of a company, and I've decided to throw my hat in the ring with Girl Power. I have 4 children. My oldest is playing girls flag football and absolutely loves it and is enthralled by it and is addicted to it. And so as a dad who coaches her and invested in her future, just saw how impactful Girl Power was in her life and wanted to be involved in the growth of this throughout the country.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you both. So honored and excited to be talking to you guys and everything that you're doing. Besides being a huge believer myself, and certainly being in Southern California where girls flag is just sort of beginning to take over every sort of public field that I see these days. This is a very timely and great conversation. I guess you feel right off the bat, since you're so heavily involved from a coaching standpoint, and it's a question I'm sure that everyone is sort of thinking in the back of their heads. But what is everything that coaches get wrong about girls in this awesome sport?
Well, first of all, these girls can play. And I believe, from everything that, from a boy's standpoint, right? I think you could coach them the same way. I mean, there's really no difference in how you can teach them and coach them. I'd argue, there's one of mine in the back. I'd argue that girls, right, especially at a young age, like they're more locked in, they're more focused, they're more about the team, they have each other's back. Like there's not a lot of like me. It's just, hey, like how do we do this together? Let's learn, let's grow. And like their focus and their attention and the abilities to learn things at such a quick level. It's pretty crazy. And Chris will attest to it because he coaches some of the best teams in our league. And the stuff that these girls are doing at like 6, you're like, wait, what? How did that happen? Like, and so they can absorb so much because they're so heavily involved, they're passionate, and then the ability to focus and lock in is definitely a little bit different than boys at that age. Trust me, I have a son, he's 7, and they're rolling around in the dirt. They're fighting each other, ripping each other's flags off, and you're like, what is happening here? I just want to coach girls, right? So it's a big difference at that age on what they're able to do in terms of focus, for sure.
Are you able to do more tactical things because of the development that they have over guys just naturally?
I certainly think so. And watching some of Chris's teams, the things that they're doing is pretty wild. It's pretty wild. So he'll be able to elaborate a little bit more on that. But I definitely seen both, pictures, and the difference is definitely, girls have an advantage at that age, especially with the ability to learn, to grasp, to focus, to pay attention, and really to lock in within one another, right? So it's pretty cool there. But I'm sure Chris can tell you some of the stuff that they're doing with their 6U team. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, like, I think I have an interesting perspective on all this just because I was a high school head coach, a very successful one. And like mentioned, I mean, my team finished number one in the country my last season. I sent 48 kids to play Division I football, 4 an hour in the NFL. And watching the way that these girls retain information and then are able to implement it in real time, it's so impressive. I mean, frankly, like, I'm not, this isn't a takeaway from boys, but like, it's just better than what I've ever experienced with boys. Like that focus and that intentionality is just, it's there all the time. And we're dealing with, 6 and 7 year olds, and, I've been fortunate to, been able to coach some of the high school girls. It's the same thing. These high school girls are completely locked in, and you think back, like, as the landscape of athletics, particularly football, has changed. We used to say, like, the purest form of football was high school football. I don't think that will exist much longer because of the NIL and the structure of, like, how essentially, like, it's become monetized even at the high school level, whereas there still remains a high level of purity with girls flag football. One, it's incredibly novel to most of them, and then two, they just are playing because they love it. Now that could change over time as the landscape of this sport changes, but right now, where girls flag football is, it's incredible to watch. It's incredible to be a part of. It's incredible to coach.
No, it's incredible. It's incredible. How long have you guys been running the business now, or Girl Power Flag in general?
So we started Girl Power Flag in January 2022. So we just finished, I believe, our 13th Super Bowl, right? And we, we learn more each and every year. We evolve, we grow, but like the substance, and what Girl Power is built on is still always the same, right? It's that it comes back to the culture, the coaching, because that's the lifeblood, and really that environment where these girls come out and it's like the world's greatest rock show on a Sunday for 6, 7, 8 hours. And my wife and I look at each other like, how the heck do we pull that off again? We got to do it again in another 7 days. But it's the most rewarding and fulfilling thing I do. And it's not even close. And I own my own training business, and we work with thousands in the community, from athletes to kids to adults to special population, which is very rewarding, and I absolutely love it. That's my livelihood and my career. So they kind of go hand in hand, but at the same time, like the energy that kids can bring and provide, and how passionate they are kind of meets, where I am as a person with the enthusiasm piece. And it's kind of the perfect storm to make it something real special on game days.
Awesome. Awesome. What is one thing since you guys started the business in 2022 you've realized, man, this really doesn't matter as much as we thought? Because I think there's a lot of folks that start businesses and you have these preconceived notions and ideas of things, and then you get into it and you figure out what really matters and you simplify things down. But what's one thing that you guys have been like, yeah, that didn't matter as much as we thought it would?
Yeah, and it's winning on the field, right? We try to make it as competitive from a balance standpoint as we can, and of course, winning has its place, in certain areas. But at the end of the day, like these girls, they don't really care. They want to compete, they want to win, but afterwards, like you would never know by talking to them, by talking to the coaches, like who won or who lost, right? Which is pretty awesome at the end of the day. Like as they're leaving, and they're having such a great experience regardless. And I'd argue that like losing builds character. Losing is where the silver linings are. Those are the teachable moments as a coach. When you win, you can say whatever you want, right? You can say whatever you want, and it doesn't matter. But when you lose, right, that's where the great coaches come into play, right? How can you take that lesson, and evolve that group of girls to grow and to continue to get better and work on things. But yeah, I would say, yeah, I'd say, winning, that's not the most important thing, especially in youth sports. So that would probably be the biggest surprise.
So, how about you, Chris?
Yeah, winning's one of them. I think that, you get so hyper focused on these rec leagues of like, when you start to, like see like, okay, like how many girls are coming out and what is it like? And what I've realized is like, there are some of like the ancillary things that you're so focused on, like high levels of participation, like how many girls are coming out for the team and program and all those things almost become irrelevant because it's the experience, right? And it's like in that moment, in that 45 minutes to an hour that they're out there, these girls feel empowered, they feel confident, they feel enthralled with the experience. And so, it doesn't matter if you have one team, two teams, 100 teams. What it's about is like that 45 minutes in which they're able to engage in one of the most unique opportunities in sports in the world. And I think about this, from my own perspective, in that, I played Division I football. I had a brief pro career. Like I think about the connection that I have with my daughter. I call it the connective tissue that my daughter and I have. And that's football. If you would have told me that when she was born 6, 7 years ago, that she and I would be bonding over football, I'd have been like, no way. Like she's, she's probably gonna be in a dance or something. And that was just me being like a little bit short-sighted, myopic. And now here we are, and she understands receivers and routes and quarterback play and all these things. And it's like, man, like what an amazing opportunity for these families, for these young girls to be able to participate in something that's been so dominated by a male demographic for so long that now they're taking over. And I love to say this all the time, like the phrase like you throw like a girl is no longer offensive, right? It's not a knock anymore on people, right? It like, because these girls can throw it and they can play football, and it's impressive to watch.
That's so cool. You're calling out me and like every other guy growing up playing ball, man. So that is super unique. I mean, one of the things that you both sort of touched on there was the importance of getting these girls not just involved in their communities, but even more with their families, especially in an age where there's just so much digital things longing for their attention and vying for it. How have you guys, from a business standpoint, made girl power an actionable, like a reasonable thing for families to do, where they're not spending 20, 30, $40,000 a year on youth sports? It's something that's affordable, but can also give them, a high quality experience.
Well, I think it comes down to that, right? I think now more and more towards the digital, towards the, technology, AI, all this stuff, right? The experience now starts to go away. So people are craving that connectivity, right? Craving that social aspect where they can come out and do something and disconnect from the stuff that at the end of the day, as we know, it's important, but everything is so shifted towards that now. Like we're losing sight of being a kid is all about. Like, our generation knows what it's like with it and what it's like without it. These kids almost don't know what it's like without it. And that's the biggest mistake. I think these kids are missing out on like a big part of their life, and just being out there and playing sports and being active and not having technology and just having fun and being able to do something that they love to do without that stuff. And I think that's the biggest part. And for me, having, 3 daughters and a son, like that connectivity with football, like organically through this, is super special. They want to live football, they want to throw football, they want to play football, they want to watch football, they want to do everything football, and that's not forced by dad. It's because that's what they love, and that's what now they've grown up doing. So I think it's all about the experience, and that see it, taste it, feel it, touch it, and all those things that we're able to do now in that youth sports space. It's bringing things back that technology has taken away.
Yeah. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, same thing, right? Like it's incredible to watch right now. I think, what one of the things that makes girl power really unique is its accessibility. And so what I think, we've done is, from a pricing perspective, like it's not unreasonable to participate in a league like ours with 7-8 weeks of games, the pregame warm up, the postgame, like the things that we're able to do, the practices, the quality of the individuals that are involved and associated with girl power, I think really elevate it beyond just like, hey, show up, here's your penny, go play a sport. At the end of it, we'll give you a score or a medal. Like it's well beyond that. Like we've created such an enhanced experience that people continue to come back season after season. I mean, we're a 3-season sport down here. So we play fall, winter, spring, and we don't see any drop off in the level of participation in any of those seasons. And I think that speaks to the culture and the community that we've created through Girl Power.
I couldn't agree more. I have this fun thesis that I want you guys to test. It's a prediction, but my prediction is that over the next 10 years, women will be more responsible for the growth of football than men. We agree or disagree with that?
I'm gonna wholeheartedly agree with that, right? Because as you get, like, let's just say in the next 10 years, like some of these girls now who are 17, 18, that we've helped facilitate the growth through Girl Power to the high school level, is now flag football is a sanctioned sport at the high school level in the state of Florida, and Girl Power has been a driver of that. If you fast forward in 10 years and those girls are 28, and some of those girls are going to be, moms, okay? And you think about the role that they're going to have, the level of self-confidence that they're going to have in themselves, what they're being able to have a catch with their sons. Imagine, like, right, when we grew up, it was like, hey, like, let's go out and let's have a catch with your dad. Well, imagine a mom who can pick up a football and start ripping that ball with her son around a little bit. Like there's something special. There's something special about that, right? Like there's something very romantic about that. And I do think that, like, moms and sons and daughters who can watch football It's, in my opinion, I'm obviously biased, the greatest sport in the world. And so to be able to bond as a family, like moms have always kind of been the outlier in that equation. And now I think they're going to be a constant, no longer a variable.
I love it.
100% agree with everything. I mean, that is so spot on. Yeah, and the growth of the opportunity continues. More and more of these girls, this is going to be their primary sport, right? A lot of the older girls, they've been playing other sports for such a long time that this is becoming a secondary sport, or they have to try to find the time to fit it in. And I'm seeing that like girls that played, soccer or these other sports, they're leaving those sports and they're converting full onto flag. So yeah, I agree. I think for sure women are going to dominate this sport sooner rather than later, for sure.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So as you guys are looking to sort of grow and scale the business, what do ideal partners and franchisees, if that's what they are, in these new markets even look like? Because I know you guys have a plan to expand out of the South and out of the East Coast. And what are you looking for at this point? I got to imagine character is such a big part of running these sort of organizations the right way, but also having the business know-abouts to not get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, I think a big piece for us is going to be the continuation of enhancing and improving the experience that these girls have week to week. And I think, as we look to that partnership model, like we have two partnership models that we offer, right? One is like people can license this in their area, or we hire general managers in certain markets. We'll probably be in close to 20 to 25 markets next year, and this is our first year scaling. But the big thing for us is consistency, right? Like it's like anything in life, consistency is probably one of the most important factors. And so as Phil and I look for those potential partners and those general managers, we need to know that there's going to be consistency and the quality of the experience that these girls and these families are going to get week to week. And I should be able to say, hey, like if I'm in Ponte Vedra, I should go to a Girl Power in Ponte Vedra, and I should be able to get on the plane, and I should be able to fly to Mobile, Alabama, or Fairhope, Alabama, or Nashville, Tennessee, or Knoxville, Tennessee, to other locations, and it should be the same exact experience. There shouldn't be any kind of drop off whatsoever. And so that's something that's really important to us. And I think that that's something that we strive for, as we expand.
Yeah, and I'll just say that the right individuals for this, like they have to be passionate about it. I think that's a big part of it, right? Anywhere you go, you could tell right away if someone loves what they do, right? And if you love what you do, it makes all the difference. It comes out and everything on this full display. And I think finding passionate individuals that either have daughters or have coached or have played, that just loves this sport and loves developing kids and setting themselves up in that type of environment where we could, create this culture where they can carry on, whether we're doing it here, whether we're doing it in Mobile, or wherever we're doing it. And that leader or that face of that organization, is just loaded with enthusiasm and just continually doing things the right way, which, as we know, in the youth sports space, usually it's the opposite. So yeah, it's the right people that makes all the difference.
I like it. I like it. So if a girl signs up to play with you guys and maybe plays a season and then doesn't the next season, so churns, right? That's a natural part of any business. What is the primary reason that girls don't come back to playing flag football?
So it comes down to it's more often than not like a bad experience, right? Something that happened to that kid during, a practice or a game. And that's where like the coaches are the lifeblood of this thing. I mean, our coaches have to be leaders. They have to be role models. They have to have compassion. They have to know that these are girls, right, that are young and they're developing and they're new to this sport, and they have to have patience. They have to have love. They have to make sure that all these girls are being included and they're feeling like they're a part of the team, and they're feeling that it's okay to make a mistake, because that's part of learning. That's part of growth. That's part of failure. We have to fail in order to learn and grow, and just that they're in a safe place, that no matter what they do, they could be themselves. And I think that's the most important piece that sometimes, some of these coaches lose sight of. It's about winning at all costs and this kind of thing. It's youth sports. Nobody's going to remember how many championships you won in 10, 20, or 30 years, right? But they're going to remember how you made them feel. They're going to remember about the experience that you gave them. And I know personally that when you have a bad coach, like you get turned away from that sport. And for me, that happened with baseball, right? And you can have all the great coaches in the world leading up to one point, but if you have one bad coach that makes you feel a certain way, especially at a young, impressionable age, that could ruin the experience for that kid forever. And that's why the coaching and the culture is the most important thing that we have. And if anybody leaves, that's the first thing I do is hey, like what's the reason why you're leaving? Like what happened? Was there something that we could have done differently? And if so, we can hopefully maybe get them on another team or get them with another coach or get them in another environment where they can have a better experience. But again, it's all about the coach. It's all about the experience and the culture that you create within that team and within our organization.
And one thing we really work hard on, Dom, is, and Phil, and he does a great job of this, is we coach the coaches, right? Like we really put a huge focus on, because they're volunteers. Like let's call it what it is, right? It's a rec league, and we have volunteer coaches. But it's our job to coach the coaches and help make sure that we help facilitate and enhance that experience as well. We put a lot of responsibility on ourselves. And so, yes, although like the coaches are the leaders of the team and those types of things, we try to do everything we can in our power to empower those coaches to be at their best all the time. And that's from like our preseason coaches clinics and the conversations that we have, to just availability, like when someone reaches out, or just the one-on-one conversations we're having with people, to make sure, one, it's a wonderful experience for the girls, but also for the coaches who are volunteering and investing their time as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be critical. There's a lot of men and women, grown children out there that need coaching as well in what they're doing. So if you guys could make a checklist, 3, 5 items, whatever it is, how do you construct a safe environment for these girls? Like, what are kind of the key non-negotiables in your head when you guys are thinking of it season to season?
I think number one for us, safety. Go ahead, Phil. Yeah, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just going to say number one for us is safety. And I think of various forms of safety, right? Like there's emotional safety, mental safety, physical safety. I think we really try to put a focus on all of those things, right? With how we create the league, who we surround them with, the types of things that we do within our league. I would say we're arguably probably the safest physical league in the country as well, with like how we set up our officials, the headgear mandates that we have in 4th and 5th grade. And even we're starting below that. We're starting to see that trickle down into our 2nd and 3rd grade division, even in our K1 division, girls wearing headgear. So like, that's really important. But then that emotional safety, right? Making sure that all girls have a wonderful experience. All girls are playing. All girls feel like they're included and that they're wanted. And then that mental safety as well. Like, hey, like beyond just that emotional piece of like you're playing, you're out there, the mental piece of like, you can do this. If this is something that's new to you, this is something that's incredibly foreign, we're going to enhance this experience by letting you know that like, it doesn't matter if this is your first time or your 5th time, we're going to make sure that you feel a part of it and that you feel included, and that we're going to empower you to be at your best all the time.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And then recognizing each girl, over the course of the season at least once, right? So that's a big part of what we do in terms of the culture and the post-game awards and acknowledgments. And we're recognizing each girl throughout the course of the year individually, multiple times in a lot of cases. And that's what helps, right? What gets rewarded gets repeated, right? So when one of these young girls feels a certain way, they want to do it again. They want to do it again because that's and then their teammates want to do it, right? So it's contagious there. But yeah, it's celebrating these girls' individual and team successes that also is very impactful at a young age.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I guess on a bit of a lighter note, what is the dumbest thing you guys have spent money on so far on this league?
Jeez.
And I know it was you, Phil. So why don't you?
That question.
Why don't you go?
Yeah, I tend to get a little excited sometimes, and my wife's got to hit me with a taser, but and I'd have to think about that. But I mean, I think for the most part, we've done a lot, we've done way more right than wrong, and that's kind of what you do. You learn from something, then you quickly get back from it. But the dumbest thing I've spent money on, I don't know, it was probably like a vendor I shouldn't have had out that like cost me way more money, and the product wasn't very good or something along those lines. It wasn't anything we were able to come back from. I'll say that, but we've definitely had a lot more hits than misses. I mean, I think the misses is just being a little more patient than we maybe should have with certain people that shouldn't be a part of the league, and I think that's a big part of it, right? As a culture you're trying to set, right? The people that don't fit that culture, that don't have that vision, like you got to get rid of them because that can only have a systemic effect down the line in a negative way. But outside of that, I think we pretty much have hit more home runs than not, in the course of the last couple of years.
Chris, that's a very diplomatic answer there from Phil. So I'm gonna need you to be a little bit more
Yeah,
specific.
I think Phil, he loves to spend money on blenders, the sunglasses. So that's what I don't know that those are that's necessarily a bad purchase, but he does love his sunglasses. He does love his blenders to share with the girls. We definitely spend money, I think, in areas that are going to make it fun and enhance, like I said, enhance the experience. I know personally, I probably spend more money than necessary on tents for my team, right? These cover tents in Florida, you get the heat. So I've gone through like 5 tents this year just alone, like people breaking them, setting them out, breaking them down. I need to get like a wear all tent, but for the most part, we do everything we can with the money that we invest right back into the girls for this experience. Like we want this to be, as Phil said, the Super Bowl every Sunday for them, and it really is.
I actually the tent call out is really cool, and blenders too, because I think a lot of private equity that's looking to go into youth sports is looking at what are all the adjacent businesses to flag football that we can roll up alongside with these teams. What are those businesses at this point in time? You mentioned tents in there. Phil likes blenders, which I'd put in maybe a different accessory category. But what are those businesses that even as you guys look to expand, you're like, hey, it might make sense for us to own the distribution and production of all of our sun tents, right?
Sure.
Like, what do you think about?
I think one that maybe people aren't thinking about enough, and it's because I've come from the high school world, is video, and video editing and just film in general, right? Like so, like right now, kind of the medium for people with film is you get moms on the sidelines and they're videotaping the games and they're submitting it into the group chat, and like hopefully you get your daughter, on whatever particular play, and then you can post it on your Instagram story or highlight whatever. But if there can be somebody who I think owns the distribution channel on film, and whether it's the 360, the Go 360 cameras that your phone uses or things like that, there's a win there somewhere. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, very, very interesting. There's it's kind of the story of this guy who bought this soccer club over in Europe and then noticed that they were all using the same water bottles. And so he then goes out and buys the water bottle company. So they're basically able to just own the infrastructure of this. It just vertically integrates, right? The
Absolutely.
full investment from the team and food and beverage around it. So that's very interesting. I mean, I gotta imagine from the stuff that I've seen so far, social media is such a big part of what you guys are doing. What is it that you're going to try and look to do in the future to continue to capitalize more off of this? With the downside being, like, the one thing I think of that you just can't do is you can't burn these kids and their personalities out on social media, right? Like, you don't want 7 and 8-year-olds constantly posting their girls flag football highlights, but you have to grow at the end of the day. So where's the balance there?
Well, I think we have some unbelievable talented videographers that have just preeminent content and fun reels and things like that. So I think when they're younger, it's more just random highlights of great things within the league, right? And as they get older, I think then it becomes a little bit more specified with the girl and her journey and her career, because some of these girls now have aspirations to play high school, college, and beyond, and that's where some of those things become more important. So fortunately, we're blessed to have some unbelievable talented videographers that can just put things together and just really make it like a motion picture that you would watch in a movie. I mean, it's unbelievable some of the content we have, and then how they do the music. It's definitely a gift. So I think yeah, it's a big part of growth, and it gets people excited, and it gets people, hey, I want to see my daughter out there. I want to, and some of these kids, as they get older, they want to see, their highlights and such. So it's definitely a big part of the game. I just think, it becomes a little bit more important as they get, upper in their career.
Yeah, I think one of the things like we try to do from a content perspective, Dom, is like we're really not even trying to capture the moment. We're trying to capture the emotion, right? If you think back to like what are like the best movies that you watch, they draw an emotional connection to you like through that moment, right? And that's what I think we're trying to do through Girl Power is like connect that emotion to moms, dads, daughters, families of like I said, the celebration, the joy, the confidence, like everything that's generated on a Sunday it's really, really difficult to capture that in a quick reel, but you can see it and you can sense it. You can like the energetic kind of model that I think we use for kind of our content right now is really what's going to be the separator, and it's only going to get better. Obviously, we're doing great things with you. We've got an incredible team of videographers and people that are out there capturing every moment, and so we do draw that fine line. Like we don't want to make sure we're putting people out there that unless they want to be out there, but at the same time, we're really protective of the brand and making sure that these girls are able to be celebrated in the right way.
And a big part of what we've done from the beginning is, being part of these other sports league. It's like, well, today is, picture day. And then you got to go pay for pictures. You got to go in the tent. You got to wait online. And then like you as a parent trying to get a picture and the guy's yelling at you because you didn't pay for it, but you're taking it on your phone. I mean, it's just, I'm like, this is like not the way. Right. So the way we do it is, my wife, she's amazing. She goes out and takes all the pictures, all the girls, somehow captures every moment. And then those pictures are like really sacred to these families and these teams because they're capturing that emotion, they're capturing that smile, and everybody has no idea that those pictures are being taken when they're taken, and we do that and we give them out. And my wife spends hours every single week editing and putting them out there for these teams, coaches, and families. But like that's another part that just separates what we do than any other youth sport league out there. And like I say, picture says 1,000 words, and you got that forever.
And if you see too, I think one of the coolest things about Girl Power is like on the social side is like these families are opting in to share this content as well. So like they're taking their videos, their photos, and then they're tagging us in their stories, in our stories, right? And like we're just reposting them at that point. So like that in itself is just it's an organic permission that they're already giving us, right? So we love that.
No, I love that. This is a fun one that I want to see how it plays out, but another sort of prediction I have is that the digital transfer portal will never be more of a real thing. So what I mean by that is like teams that can produce the best content around their players, not just even in the girls game, like the guys game too. Like I grew up in the travel baseball circuit, which is probably like, if not the most progressive, at least at the time when I was growing up in the early 2010s. It certainly is now, where every single thing someone does is like a highlight reel on some theme page. I think the growth of these even girls flag theme pages is going to be insane, and you can own the distribution there, and if you can do that, you can just attract more talents, right?
Absolutely.
Period. So that's going to be really interesting. Well, I don't want to gloss over it because I know, Phil, you've mentioned it a few times, as well as you, Chris, but would love to hear from both of you guys how important both of your wives are to this operation, and even just your understanding of how the business is coming together. I think that's a really easy one to sort of just like look over, but would love to hear both of your guys' sum up on it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this without it. It's really that simple. I mean, I'm just, and Chris is kind of wired the same way. We're just going a million miles an hour, high energy, just full speed ahead, running through red lights, right? And then we get the taser by the wife, right? You gotta slow down and be checked every once in a while. So I get checked often. So that's a big part of it, just to have that like level head in the back. That's like, hey, we gotta look at things a little differently, or hey, don't act on emotion. Like, take a breath. Let's kind of talk about it first. And so like kind of the brains behind the operation, whereas we're just like the engines going like 200 miles an hour, and then all the stuff behind the scenes that my wife doesn't necessarily get credit for, but that she's a big part of like this. And it's as simple as like getting our girls there dressed on time, with water bottles, with mouthpieces, with cleats, and then doing that with all the other girls and all the other teams, and making sure like they all have what they need to play. So there are so many things that's like, it's all the dirty work and none of the credit. But without that, like, it just doesn't happen. Like, there's just too many things that fall through the cracks and too many things that get done, with an incomplete, so I like to say. So without it, like, I'm going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think I could speak to kind of both of our wives, because I have just such great appreciation and love for Erica too, Phil's wife, because you know, our wives are like, you know, we're all sports guys here, so like they're like the glue guys, right, of a team. And every team needs a wonderful glue guy. And I think about, you know, from Erica, for, you know, Phil's wife Erica, like she is there, like whether it's taking photos or tying shoes or making sure girls have their flags on right, or that they're not wearing, you know, shorts with pockets. Like I've been coaching. I can't even count how many times I've turned around and she's right behind me and she's taking a photo of our game, or she's talking to me, and I'm like, it's incredible, you know, and my wife included. Like Phil and I, you know, we both have kind of a saying where we say fire, ready, aim about everything we do. Like you say, we run a lot of red lights. And I think our wives do a great job of like really bringing us back to like a central focus of like, hey, like, let's win. But what does it win means? Like what's important now. Right. And like, let's focus on what's important now and accomplishing those tasks as they need to be. Cause like you know, we think so far ahead. We're visionaries. It's just what Phil and I are. We're visionaries, and that's why we're going to grow Girl Power to the biggest girls flag football brand in America. But we need our wives to be able to do it because they keep us grounded.
Yes. True
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. I can't tell you guys how many times, and shout out to my mom too, how many times I showed up at a baseball field or a tournament and my bag wasn't in the back seat or something. And she drove 40 minutes back across town to go grab it and then come back and then be like, you know, an hour and a half late to work.
Yep.
And try and explain to your boss,
Right.
your son can't get his act together.
Right.
So shout out to all the moms and wives that make it possible. But I think you're also painting a really unique picture of, you know, the growth of this game. It's super, I mean, it's something you just can't ignore, that the majority of the staffing around even some of these, you know, newer, you know, girls leagues, and even at the highest level, college, the Olympic level, like, of course, you know, there is a ton of males and men that are driving, you know, the conversation and what's being executed there. But how important it is to kind of have that woman's touch in the game, if not leading it all together. Because I think, as you said, you can't, it's hard to do both in terms of driving, you know, that production, but also having an understanding of where you're going at the same time.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that's where you see, like, with, you know, although Phil and I, right, like we're on this podcast and we appear to be the face of Girl Power, we are far from the only ones who have influence and impact on how this operates. Right. And I think there's such a strong feminine presence in the work that we're doing, because like we know that this is a game that's driven by young girls and moms and those types of things. And so like, we don't necessarily have that perspective all the time. Like, although we have daughters, I can't say that like I can walk a mile in their shoes. And so it's really, really important to us that we have like strong females that are involved in the league, that are in leadership positions within the work that we're doing, that can help us make critical decisions on how to enhance this experience and make it the best possible league in America.
Amen. Amen to that. What is, I guess, shifting gears a little bit, from a sponsorship standpoint, I gotta think there's obviously multiple angles to monetization around any youth team, let alone a franchise, and just the amount of families that you guys consistently get in front of. What have you learned over the last, you know, now 4 years since starting this, in terms of what makes the best partnerships, best sponsorships, in regards to working with not just your league, but maybe sports in general? It's such a taboo thing. I mean, there's so many business owners, middle, small, large business owners, that feel that when sports teams show up at the door, their hands just constantly out, right? And they're not getting anything back from that. And I think that's something that we're trying to be really conscious of, is figure out, especially also with you guys too, like, how do we bring new business to the table here, that isn't just a one-way transaction? So how have you guys thought about it, and really just the biggest learnings you've had so far?
Yeah, so we've had so many different partners and sponsors, and that's just it. Like, I'm very clear and upfront. Like, I want this to be a win for us both, right? This shouldn't just be, hey, it's benefiting our lead and then you're not getting anything from it. So we always are really open about, you know, being innovative. You tell us what it is that you're looking for, how we can help you get there, whether that's being on, you know, site on game day, whether that's emails or social media that you want specifically, whether you want to be on some merchandise or what. So we're very, very open. Like, I don't want partners that don't feel that they're benefiting their business or their brand or the organization. Like, it's just not fair, and it's not how I would ever want to operate. So we make sure that, you know, within our partnerships, like, they are happy and they love being a part of it, and they're getting, you know, what they feel is, you know, equal value than what we're getting for our girls. So to me, that's the most important thing. It's not like, you know, we're winning and, like, you know, this business is taking a hit. Like, I would never sleep well at night knowing that somebody wouldn't be benefiting from what we're trying to do. So we haven't had really many issues with partners not being satisfied or not feeling, appreciated or getting value back in return for the services or the sponsorship they're providing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, right, we're business owners, so we get it. It's like, hey, we understand if we were to, sponsor an event as Girl Power, which we do those things, like we're having some conversations about some pretty high level sponsorships that we're going to do here in the future that are going to really have a major impact on girls flag football. And we think about, hey, like for every dollar that we put out there, like we kind of like, just if we have a fiduciary responsibility to ourselves and to our families, to make sure that there's an ROI right on that. And so we want to ensure that the people who do come on as sponsors, they do feel like there's a significant ROI on the work that they're putting in beyond just slapping their name on a jersey.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Sponsorship. I was just thinking about it this weekend because I was talking to someone about it. It's a lot like Thanksgiving where everyone has to show up with something at the table. But it's funny because like bad Thanksgivings, it's like somebody shows up and eats everything and doesn't bring something themselves. Right. There has to be sort of this like
Great analogy.
Yeah. That is such a yeah, it's a great picture that you guys painted as well there.
Well, I know firsthand because we have a training business for the last 12 years in our community, and it's like every other month someone's hitting me up, hey, can you partner, can you sponsor? And it's just like you're writing a check and you're like, well, like great, but like what did we get out of it? Like it was just like, oh, give me money for this, give me money for that. It's kind of like, and you get in the habit of like doing it. I'm like, wait, like I did this for 3 years in a row. Like, what did I even like get out of it? Like this is crazy. So
Yeah.
I just I'm somebody who like learns from like bad experiences that I'll never make sure that experience anybody else has to suffer under my watch. So it's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, it's funny. I think one of the things that youth sports does a great job of is incubating the players, right? You have training around them, you have learning infrastructure. Now you have all the hospitality and wellness factors coming in around them, and that's how you end up spending 30, 40,000 a year on a player. But one of the things that I think can massively improve is the incubation around business and sponsorships. Like Phil, to your point, like one of the biggest things that when we talk to big businesses that spend a lot of money with sports teams, the only reason they do it is for the one night a year that they can meet the other sponsors that wrote the same check because they want to be like those people, right? They want to surround themselves. They want to network with those people. And it's just such a miss. Like at the end of the day, like the logo in center field is cool or wherever it is, but like they just want to be around people that are writing that same check. And so that's why I came up with the Thanksgiving analogy, because I'm like the youth sports teams that can get their businesses and sponsorships in the same place more often, and heck, maybe even spend some of that money back on events just for them and their community, I think are going to be really, really successful. And I don't see anyone doing it in your guys' neck of the woods. So I'm really excited about what you're going to be able to put together, with that information, et cetera.
Yeah, there's a huge opportunity in that market. You're right, Dom. Like it's massive, and I don't think anyone's quite been able to figure out that equation just yet. But I think it's a little bit of a trial and error. I think you have to be in the foxhole to fully understand it. Truthfully, like I think it's hard to do from the sidelines. And so like guys like ourselves, who are constantly talking and iterating, I think are going to be the ones who come up with the best solution.
I agree. I completely agree. Phil, would you say you guys just wrapped up your 13th Super Bowl? Is that it?
Yep. And a lot
13th Super Bowl.
Good ways. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
What's next for you guys?
So we have a little summer's nap from our rec season here, which is nice. So it's the longest break we have from running a league. So we fire it back up August 16th, and we did this massive training camp to kick off the football season with former NFL and college players and just unbelievable humans that come out, whether their daughters play in the league or not, to mentor these girls and run through drills and talk with them about what it takes to be great and do what they've done at a high level. And so that kicks off every fall season. So we have everybody in the league come out. We give them shirts for the year, and we just have this massive training camp, which is a production. I mean, last year we had Sebastian Janikowski out there. I'm a Raider fan, so I was like the biggest fan out there. He's like, don't make me speak to anybody. But he ran drills, and it was awesome. I got pictures with him and things of that nature. So It's so much fun, but like in the meantime, right, it's just, setting all this stuff behind the scenes to make these events very successful. So although there's downtime from games on Sunday, it's, Chris and I and our team are trying to just, build this infrastructure in other areas now with other GMs and other affiliates. And then obviously, not forget what got us here, which is our home here, and make sure that we're evolving and making sure that next season is even more successful than the season we just completed. And there's always ways and nuances we can do to tweak things, but yeah, it's nonstop. But again, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I'm looking forward to a couple months off from running around on Sundays, but more is required.
Epic, epic, epic. What is where can girls play this fall? What markets will you guys be in that you know of now, and where can parents, go sign up to get them into Girl Power?
Yeah, the first thing that you can do is go to our website, which is girlpowerflag.com. There's a locations tab, so they can always pull that down and take a look. But we're going to be in select markets in North Carolina, South Carolina, New Jersey, Tennessee, Florida. We're just signed an agreement to be in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're expanding, I think rapidly every day. And we'll be in Alabama. We've got 2 in Alabama, one in Fairhope, one in Mobile, Alabama. So we're, like I said, I mean, we're potentially going to be in Omaha, Nebraska. We had somebody reach out to us about Omaha recently. So like, we're at some point we're going to have to put like maybe a short cap on this, but I would say, like I said, in the next 2 weeks, we'll probably know, like with some, with some validity about what markets we're going to be officially be in, but we're going to be in about 25, I think, by the fall.
Amazing, amazing. Well, one way that I like to wrap up every podcast is I always ask everyone, what is one question I didn't ask you that you feel is important information to get out there, or something that is close to heart you want to cover?
It's a great question.
So what did I not ask you?
Phil, do you want to answer that first, or you want me to?
While you think about it, how long do I want to do this for, right? Because that's one of those things where I only have one speed. It's full speed unless you take me to an IKEA. Then I shut down like an alligator in like the middle of winter. But I like I said, I want to see this through. Through my youngest daughter. She just turned 10. So I say like 7 years. 7 years, everything I got. Not just for my daughters, but for the girls that are growing up with them. But that's kind of my vision. Like 7 years, like just run me into the ground like a racehorse for 7 more years, full speed ahead, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But that's one question that you didn't ask me. So there you go.
I have a longer runway because I have my daughter's 6, and then my youngest is 8 months. My youngest daughter's 8 months, so I've got a little bit of a longer runway than Phil does here. But probably the one question I think is like, what is maybe my favorite part, or the greatest part of being involved in Girl Power? And so I have, like I said, a multiple perspectives, because as somebody who's growing this and co-founded this with Phil, and then on top of it being a dad, and then on top of it being a coach, I think back to one of my favorite shows, which is The Office. And there's a quote in The Office. Andy Bernard says, like, I wish there was a way to know you were in the good old days before they're gone. And I think that this is such a unique phase of life for us, to be able to have daughters, to be able to share this experience with them, to be able to connect with them in such a beautiful way on a sport that is incredible, is my favorite thing in the world right now. Cause like I always assumed when I had daughters that I'd be a spectator at most of their, the things that they participate in. And now I get to be an active participant in that. And it's not lost on me that like, these are the good old days right now. And I want to make sure that I appreciate them. And I think all of our families get a sense of that too.
I love that. 100%.
Those are both such good answers. I mean, I don't need to tell you guys, I mean, we're in need of good and involved dads more than ever. So I look up to, and I love what you guys are doing so much, and super excited to continue to support you guys however we can. And I also, Phil, to your point, that's a very, mature answer as well, because I think one of the hardest things for me running a business anyways, it's like figuring out a way where it survives without you, so that's going to be the great challenge you guys have over the next 7 years there. But, No, really appreciate it, guys. And obviously, Chris, you called out where they could find you. But really excited to see what you guys do heading into fall. And also just love that you have a fall season. Like you're gonna compete with the rest of all of football nation out there.
Yep.
But I think it's great because it gets the girls excited because they're gonna go watch a college game and they're gonna be like, hey, we can go play tomorrow
Yep.
and go do this, right? So love what you guys are doing, and yeah, best of luck with everything.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Yeah,
Awesome.
appreciate you.
Okay, Chris, I think you're good. You can hit record.